Hey you guys, this is Faith Cawthon-Green, and I'm going live today. I want to talk to you guys about the difference between wants and desires. This is a thing that God has been kind of put on my heart for the last week or so. And today I was feeling kind of, like my spirit was kind of grieved. And I was like, what is this? It almost felt like depression, but I knew it wasn't depression. I was like, God, what is this? And it just made me think about my wants dying so that my desires can come forth. It's like I'm grieving the things that I wanted so that I can receive the things that I desire. And so I want to just kind of delve into this a little bit today, because I think that a lot of times we kind of think the two are synonymous with each other. We think wants and desires are the same, but they're not. So true desires come from the heart, and they are placed in the heart by God. They lead you to the things that God has for you. But wants are desires of the flesh, that lead you away from the fullness of what God has for you. And a lot of times wants are actually us trying to fulfill the desires of our heart in our own way. So God places desires in our heart because it's almost his way of showing us what he wants to give us. So he places the desire for what he wants to give us in our heart. But then we take those desires and we run in a way that we want to. So we're trying to get to those desires in our own way. And a lot of times that's where wants come from. See, wants often cause us to do things outside of God's will, outside of God's way, and outside of God's timing. So I'll give you an example. Think about Isaac and Ishmael. So Sarah and Abraham had the desire to have a son. God placed the desire in their heart. And I'm going to tell you how you know you have a desire. It's a thing that you pray for, like from the depths of you feel it, like you have this yearning for this thing, and then you start to pray for it. You feel compelled to pray for it. It reminds me also of Hannah as she was praying for a son, and the lengths that she went to pray for this son because God placed a desire. And that's a whole nother teaching for another time, in that God will place a desire that will compel you to make a sound to bring forth that thing. So he'll place the desire in your heart so that you'll ask him for it, so that you'll pray to him for it. But what you're praying for is not just for him to give you that thing. What you're praying for is for him to produce the circumstances to give you the instruction or the direction that you need in order to get to that thing. But what happens is we taint that desire, because the desire comes from a pure place. It comes directly from God. He placed it directly in our heart. And then we try to use our mind. And our mind is a place, they always say the mind is the devil's playground. Our mind is the place where the desire gets tainted, because we take the desire from our heart and then we play with it in our mind. And then that's where want comes in, because we try to obtain the desire in a way, in according to our thoughts, in our understanding. So we go, God placed a desire. I'll give you an example. God placed a desire for marriage, for a husband. And I'll tell you what I specifically was praying for. I specifically prayed for an unbreakable marriage, right? But then my want said, but I want it right now. My want said, I'm tired of waiting. My want said, well, here's this person in front of me. This looks like a good idea. My brokenness said, but I need it to be fulfilled right now. But I've got a void that needs to be filled. And so let me just move, which is what Abraham and Sarah did. So instead of waiting for God to put in front of them the right circumstance to bring forth the desire of their heart in Isaac, they went for the want, which is a surface level. The want is on the surface. And a lot of times we go into the space of want from the surface because we're concerned about what other people are thinking about our situation. We're concerned about what other people are saying. We're concerned about how it's going to be perceived. And I'm sure they were thinking, well, shoot, we were already old when God told us we were going to have a son. Now we've been waiting for even longer. Man, people are going to think we're foolish for believing this. So let's go get it for ourselves. We want a son. So then that desire transfers from a desire to a want. Now it's no longer a God thing. It's a you thing. And it makes me think about, here we go. In Psalms 37, 4-5 says, delight yourself in the Lord and he will give you the desires of your heart. Commit what? Your way to the Lord and trust also in him and he will do it. See, when you delight yourself in him, he will give you the desires. But before he'll give you the desires, you have to commit your way so that he can do it. So the want is often our way of trying to fulfill the desire for ourselves. But see, if God placed that desire in your heart, then he also has a specific way in which he wants to fulfill those desires. But we get impatient and we decide, I'm going to try and fulfill it for myself. And then wonder why it didn't work out the way that we wanted it to, the way that God said it would. So it's because you tried to fulfill a godly thing in a worldly way. So a want is us trying to fulfill the godly desire, but in our own worldly way. So we go, well, you know what? God, I prayed to you for this. But we, instead of waiting for God to show us the path to what we prayed for, we get in want and we go, well, I want to be married now, or I want this job now, or I want to make more money now, or I want a child now. But God placed the desire for that child in your heart. God placed the desire for that marriage in your heart. God placed the desire for that success, he placed that vision for that business. He placed it in there, in you. Not so you could go get it for yourself, but so that you could seek him for it. The whole point, what does it say? I'm going to go back. Delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. See, he placed that desire in your heart to push you to come to him for how it was to be fulfilled. But instead of coming to him for how that desire was to be fulfilled, we decide, well, I want it now. I want it now. I want it my way. So let's go here to Galatians. This is Galatians chapter 5, verses 16 and 17. It says, but I say, walk by the Spirit, and you will not carry out the desire of the flesh. For the desire of the flesh is against the Spirit, and the Spirit against the flesh. For these are in opposition to one another in order to keep you from doing whatever you want. See, God placed that desire in your heart. Listen, that want is going to keep you in your flesh. The desire is going to pull you and tug you and keep you in your kingdom identity. See, that want is never ever going to fulfill the space that you're looking for it to fulfill. Never. Because it doesn't come from the heart. It comes from the mind. The mind can never fulfill a thing for the heart. That's just not how it works. So then there are us who we either jump ahead of God or we lag behind God. See, some of us jump ahead and try to do it in our own way. And some of us lag behind when God is putting in front of us the way and the path to receive the desire of your heart. But we think we're not ready, or we're too afraid to move forward and take a leap to get the very thing that we've been desiring because we never saw it coming, or we weren't mentally prepared to receive it. But again, you wanted God to wait for you to be ready for that thing in your way. But before he put it in front of you, he tested your heart and the readiness of your heart. Before he put it in front of you. But you've been evaluating the readiness of your hands, which doesn't matter. See, you decided that what's in your hands wasn't enough to handle the desires of your heart. But all God cares about is what's in your heart. See, he can increase what's in your hands to meet what's in your heart. So there's us who want to move ahead of God, and then we want to do it in our own way. We want to go get it in our own way. We want to follow our own path in order to get to a desire that only God can fulfill. And then we wonder why it don't feel like I wanted it to feel. Why I didn't have the great experience that I was looking for. How come it wasn't successful like I wanted it to be? How come that thing didn't bring me joy? How come it brought me sorrow instead of joy? How come it brought me pain instead of happiness? Instead of gladness? How come it's weighing me down instead of causing me to fly? Well, it's because you trying to fulfill a God thing in a worldly way. So there's those who try to get it for themselves. We try to move ahead of God. And then there's others who lag behind God, where God is like, here you go. I'm going to put it right here in front of you. All you got to do is grab it. And then we're like, wait, I wasn't ready for this, God. Well, we be praying for exceedingly abundantly beyond all that we can ever ask or imagine until we get it in front of us and we weren't ready. And then we like, but God, I wasn't ready. But I'm not ready to move on this. But God, I thought it was going to be this amount of time. Or God, I thought I was going to be able to do this and this and this and this first. God, I thought my hands were going to be more prepared for this. And God is like, no, I don't care about your hands. I just care about your heart. Is your heart prepared? And when I evaluated that your heart was prepared, then I could put it in front of you. Because here's the thing about that. That's what God's timing is. You see, God's timing is not days or weeks or months or years. God's timing has nothing to do with the calendar. God's timing has everything to do with the heart. As soon as your heart is ready to receive that desire, God puts it in front of you. That's Kairos time, the opportune, perfect moment for something to occur. It doesn't have anything to do. See, man will tell you that you need 6 months on the job before you can be removed from probation. Man will tell you that you need 6 or 7 years. Man will tell you that you need all this education to be qualified for a job. God don't care nothing about that. He don't care what your hands are doing. He don't care what your mind is doing. He only cares what your heart is doing. And if your heart is ready to receive that desire, he's going to put it in front of you. And it might come at you like a whirlwind. It might come at you like you never saw it coming, but that's okay. Because God evaluated your heart and he said, you're ready. Even if you don't feel like you're ready, you're ready. Even if you don't feel like you're prepared according to the world standards, it doesn't matter. Because want is us trying to fulfill the world. Come on, God. Want is us trying to fulfill the standards of the world. Desire is us trying to fulfill the standards of the kingdom. The standards of the Father. So too many of us are trying to fulfill the world standards through our wants. Success and all these things, that platforms and all of these things that we're trying to attain, they are all connected to wants, not desires. So here it is. Galatians, if we're going to go down, Galatians chapter 5, verse 24 says, now those who, y'all, excuse my baby. She is over here knocked out and she got a little nasal congestion, so she's snoring. But Galatians 5:24 is, now those who belong to Christ Jesus crucified the flesh with its passions and desires. See, you gotta crucify. You want to receive the true desires of your heart. You gotta crucify the wants of your flesh. And your flesh wants to satisfy the validation of the world. Your flesh wants to satisfy the qualification of the world. And God is like, that don't got nothing to do with me. I don't care who the world said you are, what you need, or what you got to do in order to go forward and take this territory that I want to give you. I don't care about that. I'm looking at your heart and I'm saying your heart is prepared to receive. I don't care what's in your hands. I don't care if your hands are completely empty. I don't care. I'm looking at your heart. I don't care if the world thinks your hands are filthy. I don't care. I'm looking at your heart. Because if your heart is right, I can clean up your hands. If your heart is right, I can put resources in your hands. If your heart is right, I can put access in your hands. If your heart is right, I can trust you with something in your hands. But if you always pursuing what's in your hands, you can never receive what's in your heart. And see, here's the thing about wants. Wants leads you into the wrong space. See, James 1, this is James chapter 1, verses 13 through 15. It says, but each one is tempted when he is carried away and enticed by his own lust. Then when lust has conceived, it gives birth to sin. And sin, when it has run its course, brings forth death. You see, there's a way that God wants you to go, because it's going to steer you away from those worldly mindsets, from those sinful natures. But see, when we get in want, we get to a place, a lot of times wants lead us to a place of desperation, because this desire is so deep, this yearning is so deep, we're trying to find a way to fulfill it. And when we can't find a way because we haven't sought God, then we get desperate and we're like, let me just try anything. And when you're willing to try anything, you're almost willing to try everything. And you're willing to compromise yourself in order to get the thing, to fulfill a desire. Not understanding that you don't have what it takes to fulfill it. Because if God put it there, only He can fulfill it in His way. It don't matter how much you try to do it your way, that desire will never ever be fulfilled. It'll just be like you went to water, you went to the well to get some water, and you went to the well and you get some water, but you came away with soda. And you keep trying to use this soda to quench your thirst, but the soda isn't ever going to quench your thirst, because that's not what it was designed to do. See, wants, the enemy fuels those wants. He fuels those wants to keep you thirsty, so you'll keep on coming back and keep on not recognizing that you're drinking the wrong thing. So he's going to keep you thirsty, and that thirst is going to begin to consume you, because you're going to continue to look and look and look and look and look and look and look. So you're going to continue to get deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into the want and try and do a thing your way. And you're going to dig your heels in, and it's going to get you so far away from the well that you're going to forget that water was the thing that would quench your thirst. Because you're so busy over here trying to get it your way. Ooh, you know what? Ooh, that looks good. Ooh, that looks flavorful. Ooh, you know how much crap is in soda that is not good for you? There's a reason that it's man-made. God gave us a natural thing to quench our thirst, just like He gives us a natural way to fulfill our desires. But we keep trying to look for the man-made way to fulfill a desire, and the man-made way is never going to fulfill a desire that God placed in you. You know what it's just going to do? It's going to keep getting you dirtier and dirtier, and it's going to keep digging you further and further into that pit and into that hole of thirst. You're just going to keep digging that void and making it bigger and bigger and bigger. And then you're going to look up and you're going to be in the sunken place. You're going to be like, how did I get here? And how do I get out? See, and let's go to James chapter 4, verses 1 through 3. It says, what is the source of quarrels and conflicts among you? Is the source not your pleasures that wage war in your body's parts? You lust and do not have, so you commit murder. And you are envious and cannot obtain, so you fight and quarrel. You do not have because you do not ask. You ask and do not receive because you ask with the wrong motives, so that you may spend what you request on your pleasures. You see, wants are always going to keep us out of position. Wants are going to keep you at odds with your kingdom identity. Wants are going to keep you at odds with your destiny helpers. Wants are going to keep you at odds with your destiny itself. Wants are going to keep you at odds with the desires of your heart. It's going to keep you out of position. It's going to keep you constantly quarreling with the things that God has for you, wrestling, trying to get to a space when if you just surrender to his way, he will fulfill the desires of your heart. Stop trying to chase these shallow wants when God is trying to lead you to the desire of your heart. That's the word. That's the word. You want exceedingly abundantly. You want God to add to your life. You want God to enlarge your territory. You want God to give you the desires of your heart. But baby, you got to do it God's way, not the way that you want it to happen. You got to let him put it in front of you. You got to let him give you the path. And no, the path ain't always going to be comfortable. It's not always going to be easy. But you know what? It's necessary. Because if you desire what God has for you, you got to go God's path to get to it. Period. Point blank. That's it. That's the word. I pray y'all receive it. I pray you put it into action. I pray that you don't keep turning in these circles of trying to fulfill your desire with your wants. See, I guess I got to give y'all an example before I leave. God told me, he was like, look, if you watch my lives before, you know my faith story. I've been on a whole crazy faith walk. God said, you want it. He said, you wanted to be married. You wanted to have a successful career. You wanted a graduate degree. You wanted to buy a house. You wanted to have children. He said, I gave you everything that you wanted. And he said, did it fulfill you? And it absolutely did not. It absolutely did not. I felt like a slave to my life, but I seemingly had everything that I wanted. Then God said, now, all of those wants that you went and pursued, that you asked me for, what desire were they tied to? The desire to be married and have children was tied to the desire to be loved. The desire to have a successful career was tied to the desire to do something meaningful, to help people. And God was like, but you wanted it in your way. So there was a way that you thought that desire was going to be fulfilled. But that was not my way. So he made me give up all the stuff that I pursued in my way, trying to fulfill those desires. Now I'm at a place where he stripped me back to the beginning, back to the bare bones. And he's like, now let me build it for you so that it will actually fulfill the desire of your heart. Look, I got another spouse for you. And that is going to be exceedingly abundantly. Look, I got another house for you. Look, I got another path for you. Look, I got more children for you. I've got all of this for you. And it will fulfill the desires of your heart. And it will be exceedingly abundantly. Because what you wanted was too small to fulfill. My God, what you wanted was too small to fulfill the desire of your heart. The desire that I placed in your heart was a desire for something big, was a desire for exceedingly abundantly. But what you wanted in your mind could only fathom something so big. Your mind is limited in what it can fathom. That's why it says exceedingly abundantly beyond all that you can ever ask or imagine, because you imagine in your mind. Your mind is limited. So wants come from your mind. See, the desires of your heart come from the mind of the Father, from the heart of the Father, which is limitless. So you can never fathom how to fulfill a desire of your heart with your mind, because your mind has limitations. So the way that you would go about doing a thing is way too small to fulfill the desire of your heart that God placed in you, because he's a limitless God. He's not going to give you anything small. Period. That's the word. I love y'all. Bye.